Two men tried to claim her at the depot, the cowboy said. She already has someone waiting. Ships of every shape and size hung from docking bays, some shaped like sleek arrows, others like floating spheres that glimmered with alien lights. The air smelled faintly of ozone and recycled oxygen, a mixture that always made Alara Miles feel alive. She had landed on Vega Station many times before, but each visit brought the same sense of anticipation, the thrill of the unknown, and the hum of countless possibilities. Alara stepped off her freighter, the Starfire, adjusting the straps of her backpack. She was tall and strong, her dark hair pulled into a loose braid that swung over her shoulder as she walked. Her eyes scanned the crowd, alert and observant. There was always someone trying to take advantage of new arrivals, she knew. The bustling depot might seem harmless, but it was a crossroads where deals, sometimes dangerous deals, were made. Her boots clicked on the metal floor as she made her way toward the central hub of the depot. She kept her head high, confident in her presence. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, considered fragile or easily manipulated by other races who relied on technology or sheer strength. But Alara had learned to rely on something the galaxy often overlooked: human ingenuity. Just as she reached a junction where several corridors met, she noticed two figures approaching. They were tall, with elongated limbs and skin that shimmered faintly like polished metal under the depot lights. Their movements were smooth, almost too smooth, and their eyes glowed with an intensity that made other travelers instinctively step aside. Alara recognized them immediately, mercantile opportunists known for pressuring solo travelers into questionable deals. "Captain Miles," one of them hissed, his voice metallic and cold, "you are far from home. Surely you can spare a moment for profitable conversation." Alara raised an eyebrow but kept walking. "I'm in a hurry. My cargo waits," she said firmly, not slowing her pace. The second alien smiled in a way that made her stomach tighten. "A woman alone at the depot, how convenient. You see, we have opportunities that cannot wait, and we are prepared to offer." "Excuse me," Alara interrupted, stepping to the side to let a group of robotic couriers glide past. "I don't make deals with strangers." The two aliens exchanged glances, and their eyes narrowed. They stepped closer, their presence suddenly oppressive, as if the air itself had thickened around her. "You cannot refuse," one whispered, his voice low and threatening. "Some things belong to those who claim them first." Alara's heart beat a little faster, but she refused to show fear. She had faced worse in deep space, and humans had survived because they never relied solely on physical strength. They relied on wit, courage, and quick thinking. She scanned the depot for exits, potential allies, anything that could help. Her gaze fell on a figure standing near one of the docking ramps. He was unlike anyone else at the station. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a long coat that brushed the tops of his boots, and a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face. What caught her attention most were his eyes. They were sharp, calm, and unusually focused. He looked like he had stepped straight out of an old Earth tale, a cowboy in a sea of advanced technology. The alien closest to her sneered. "Ah, a human companion, perhaps," Alara frowned. She had no companion. She was careful to travel alone. But the cowboy raised a hand slowly, and his voice, deep and steady, cut through the noise of the depot. "She already has someone waiting." The words were simple, almost casual, but they carried authority. The two aliens froze, startled. They had expected hesitation, confusion, or fear, but not a calm declaration that someone was watching her. The surrounding travelers had begun to notice, whispers spreading like wildfire. The metallic-skinned alien hissed, "Who are you to interfere?" "I'm whoever I need to be," the cowboy replied, tipping his hat slightly, revealing a faint scar across his cheek. "Step back, or you'll regret it." Alara felt a mix of relief and curiosity. Relief because someone had arrived without her asking for help, and curiosity because humans were supposed to be weak in this galaxy. Yet, Here was one who seemed capable of holding his ground against creatures far stronger and more advanced. The aliens glanced at each other, hesitation flickering across their smooth, polished faces. They were used to intimidation and technology winning every argument. This human's presence was different. It introduced uncertainty, and uncertainty in a transaction could be dangerous. One of them tried to step closer, gesturing with elongated fingers. "You overestimate yourself, human." The cowboy didn't move an inch. Instead, he reached slowly for a device at his belt, something that hummed faintly, its shape unfamiliar to most humans. He didn't raise it as a weapon, he just let it rest at his side. The mere presence of it made the alien pause. Alara watched, fascinated. Humans might not be the fastest or strongest, but they had a talent that no other species seemed to understand fully: unpredictability. While other beings relied on protocols, logic, or enhancements, humans could improvise, think outside the lines, and turn situations in ways no one expected. The alien closest to him snarled and took a step back. "This isn't over," it said, almost reluctantly. "We will return." The two aliens vanished into the crowd as quickly as they had appeared. The depot's activity slowly returned to normal, but a quiet hummed the air around Vega Station's central hub had finally settled after the brief confrontation. Travelers went about their business, some casting curious glances toward the freighter captain and the cowboy who had just interrupted an alien threat. Alara Miles exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and admiration. Humans were often underestimated across the galaxy, but Jax Orion, the cowboy, had reminded her why unpredictability was humanity's greatest strength. "Thanks for the assist," Alara said, walking toward him. Jax tipped his hat, a faint smile playing across his lips. "Name's Jax. Heard you might need a hand." She studied him for a moment. There was something almost timeless about him, as though he belonged in a different era, yet he moved through the high-tech station with ease. "You really didn't have to interfere. I've handled worse." "I've seen worse too," Jax replied, his eyes scanning the nearby crowd as though expecting the aliens to return at any moment. "But sometimes it's better to stand beside someone than to let trouble start." Alara felt a flicker of warmth at his words. Humans often had this instinct to protect, to stand up for one another even when it wasn't required. Maybe that was why they had survived in the galaxy for so long, despite being physically weaker than many other species. Before she could respond, a metallic voice echoed through the depot. "Attention! All travelers, please be advised. An unauthorized disturbance occurred in docking bay. C security drones will monitor activity." Alara tensed. The aliens hadn't given up yet, they rarely did. But the announcement also gave her time to think. If she could convince the aliens that she was under protection, they might leave her alone long enough to continue her mission. Jax seemed to read her mind. "You don't have to face them alone," he said. "Not here, not now." Alara nodded. "Then what do we do?" Jax's eyes sparkled with mischief. "We show them exactly why humans are not so easy to scare." He led her to a quiet corridor that ran along the edge of the depot. It was lined with cargo containers, some stacked higher than the ceiling. A few maintenance robots glided past, ignoring them completely. "Ever see humans turn a simple environment into a challenge for someone who thinks they're clever?" Jax asked. Alara tilted her head. "I've read stories, but in practice," Jax smiled. "In practice, you improvise. You use what you have, even if it looks useless at first. Watch." He stopped near a stack of crates. With a few quick gestures, he pulled small panels and devices from his belt. Some were simple gravtech stabilizers, others were old Earth gadgets, modified with advanced sensors. "I'm going to give them a problem they can't solve without thinking, something they won't expect." Alara raised an eyebrow. "And if they attack while you're setting it up?" "They won't, not yet. They think strength and intimidation work everywhere. That's their mistake." Within minutes, Jax had turned the corridor into a maze of sensors, reflective surfaces, and sound panels. Movement triggered lights, vibrations, and echoes that confused anyone unfamiliar with the setup. It wasn't a trap in the traditional sense. It was a demonstration of creativity, a warning to the aliens that humans could turn the environment itself into an advantage. Alara marveled at his speed. Humans often relied on ingenuity in unexpected ways, and Jax was a master of it. "How long did it take you to learn this?" she asked. "Years," he said simply. "Sometimes you win with muscle, sometimes with brains, but the real victory comes when they can't predict your next move." They waited, watching from a distance. It wasn't long before the two metallic-skinned aliens returned, moving cautiously through the depot. Their eyes scanned the corridors, searching for Alara. "This way," Jax whispered, gesturing toward the maze. The aliens followed, unaware of the subtle changes Jax had made. As they stepped onto the corridor, lights flickered, reflections distorted their vision, and soft vibrations underfoot made them hesitate. One of them hissed in frustration. "What is this?" Alara smiled quietly. "A little human creativity." The aliens tried to advance, but each step triggered more confusing signals. They collided with panels, misjudged distances, and hesitated at corners that seemed safe but were now mirrored illusions. Jax watched, calm and observant, making small adjustments to ensure they stayed disoriented without causing harm. Alara realized then that this was a perfect example of humanity at its best. Quick thinking, adaptation, and turning ordinary tools into unexpected advantages. It wasn't about violence or brute force, it was about confidence and intellect. Finally, one alien muttered, "They are different." "Exactly," Jax said softly. "They don't follow the rules you expect." After a few minutes, the aliens retreated, frustrated and embarrassed. They would return, of course, creatures like them never gave up. But for now, the demonstration had made it clear. Humans could not be intimidated or claimed so easily. Alara exhaled. "I have to admit that was impressive." Jax shrugged, casual but proud. "Humans have survived for a reason. We improvise, we endure, and we protect those who deserve it." Alara's thoughts drifted. Protecting and enduring. That was why she had survived countless missions, navigated dangerous sectors, and outsmarted smugglers and pirates. But now she saw another dimension. Humans could also be a presence, a force, in ways no one else expected. As they walked back toward the hub, Jax glanced around. The station can be dangerous, but it can also be an ally if you know how to move through it. Watch, learn, and think ahead, that's the human way. Alara nodded, absorbing the lesson. "I suppose that's why we've made it this far in the galaxy. We adapt, we improvise, we surprise," Jax grinned. "Exactly, and right now it's your turn to surprise them. If they come back, they'll see that humans don't just survive, they outsmart." She laughed softly. "I'll try to remember that." They paused near a docking ramp overlooking the station's lower levels. Ships glided past, some entering the bay, others leaving on long journeys. Travelers moved like streams of light, each with their own story, their own purpose. And among them, humans like Alara and Jax were small yet significant, their presence quietly asserting that ingenuity could rival even the most advanced alien technology. Jax watched the crowd. "See all those people? Every species here thinks they understand the rules of survival. Humans often break them. We take risks, yes, but we also think in ways they don't expect. That's why we endure." Alara looked at him, realizing he wasn't just speaking about the aliens. They were talking about humanity itself. It was a simple philosophy, yet profound. Adapt, innovate, and remain unpredictable. No amount of strength or technology could replace that. Before long, the station's public announcement system crackled again. "All travelers' security drones are monitoring unusual activity in corridors 12 through 18. Please proceed with caution." Alara's pulse quickened. The aliens hadn't forgotten. They were still a threat. But she felt a new confidence, bolstered by Jax's presence and the demonstration of human ingenuity. "I guess we should keep moving," she said, Jax nodded. We should. But remember, the challenge is not just to survive, it's to make them see that humans are more than what they expect. Every step we take, every choice, shows them exactly that. They moved through the corridors with purpose, blending with the flow of travelers. Alara observed how Jax used simple objects and the station's layout to create opportunities, even in crowded spaces. Mirrors, lights, and sound panels were no longer just decorations. They were tools to guide, confuse, and protect. At one point, a small hover cart carrying cargo sped toward them. Jax leaned back, letting it glide past harmlessly, but as it did, he activated a reflective panel on the wall. The cart's lights bounced across the corridor, creating shifting patterns that made their approach less predictable. Alara realized that humans had a natural talent for turning ordinary things into strategic advantages, something that most species never mastered. By the time they reached the central hub again, the aliens had not reappeared. Alara felt a mixture of relief and admiration. Not only had she survived the encounter, but she had also witnessed the strength of human creativity and adaptability firsthand. Jax looked at her and tipped his hat. Lesson 1 complete. Humans can surprise anyone sometimes without a single weapon. Alara laughed. I'll remember that, and maybe use it next time someone tries to intimidate me. He smiled. Good, that's exactly the point. Strength isn't always physical. Sometimes it's in your mind, in your instincts, and in the choices you make. For the first time in a long while, Alara felt a sense of peace. The aliens had been temporarily dealt with, and she had learned something vital about the kind of human she could become when she trusted her instincts, and those of a human companion who understood the same principles. As they prepared to leave the hub, a faint hum echoed through the station. It was a reminder that danger could return at any moment. But for now, humans had proven once again that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability could outmatch threats far larger and stronger than themselves. And Alara knew that with Jax by her side, the galaxy would never underestimate her or her species again. The hum of Vega Station settled into its usual rhythm, but Alara Miles could feel the tension in the air. The aliens had retreated for now, but she knew they would not give up so easily. Experience had taught her that threats rarely disappeared. They merely waited for the right moment. She glanced at Jax Orion, the cowboy who had become her unexpected ally, and found the same alertness reflected in his eyes. They'll come back, she said softly as they walked along a busy corridor filled with travelers from countless worlds. Jax nodded without looking away from the crowd. Yes, but we're ready. The station is our advantage if we move carefully. Watch and learn. Alara followed, curious. She had seen Jax work before, but now she wanted to understand his methods. Humans, she realized, had an instinct for turning ordinary environments into tools for survival. It wasn't just ingenuity. It was observation, timing, and improvisation combined. The two of them moved toward the lower docking bays. The corridors here were narrower, less crowded, and lined with cargo containers and maintenance stations. Jax used these to their advantage, moving in ways that allowed them to disappear from sight without actually leaving the open paths. Every step was deliberate, every pause calculated. Alara couldn't help but notice how natural he was at it. Unlike other species, who relied on strength, size, or technology, Jax relied on anticipation and creativity. He watched the flow of people, the placement of objects, and the lighting to determine the safest paths. It was a reminder that humans had survived countless challenges not by brute force but by thinking ahead. Suddenly, a faint vibration echoed through the corridor. Alara stiffened, Jax's eyes narrowed. "They're here," he said calmly. "Follow me." He led her through a side passage, barely wide enough for two people, which opened into a larger maintenance area. The hum of machinery filled the space, and shadows shifted as moving parts glided overhead. Jax signaled her to stay low, and they crouched behind a stack of crates. From her hiding spot, Alara could see the aliens. Their metallic skin reflected the dim light, and their elongated forms moved with a silent, deliberate precision. They were scanning the corridors, clearly trying to locate her again. Jax whispered, "Notice how they move. They rely on prediction and repetition." That's human advantage number one, unpredictability. They expect patterns, we don't follow them. Alara nodded. It was a simple concept, yet powerful. Humans had survived countless crises because they could adapt, change plans on a moment's notice, and exploit the assumptions of others. In this moment, she realized that human survival was not just about skill, it was about creativity under pressure. The aliens paused near the entrance of the maintenance area. Their sensors scanned the shadows, producing faint waves of light that flickered across the walls. Alara felt a small thrill of excitement. Even now, the fear was tempered by the knowledge that humans had an edge the aliens couldn't predict. Jax reached into his belt and pulled out a small device, no bigger than a communicator. He activated it, and the device emitted a soft, pulsing light. Within moments, the maintenance area was transformed. Shadows shifted, reflections bounced in unexpected directions, and the sound of moving machinery created subtle distractions. Alara blinked. "You can do all that with a small device," Jax smiled. "It's not the device. It's knowing how to use what you have. Humans see tools differently. You improvise, and suddenly the impossible becomes possible." The aliens stepped into the maintenance area. Immediately, they were disoriented. Reflections of light made it appear as if the corridors extended in impossible directions, and soft echoes made it difficult to pinpoint the humans' location. They paused, confused, exchanging gestures that Alara could barely decipher. "Look at them," Jax whispered. "They rely on precision and logic. When you add unpredictability, they hesitate. That hesitation is everything." Alara watched, fascinated. The aliens' confidence faltered. They were powerful, intelligent, and technologically advanced, yet they struggled against simple human ingenuity. It was a clear demonstration that humans did not need to match others in strength to succeed. They only needed creativity, adaptability, and a willingness to take risks. As the aliens advanced cautiously, Jax gestured for Alara to follow him through a narrow maintenance shaft. They moved silently, using the maze of pipes and conduits to stay out of sight. Every turn, every pause was deliberate. Humans had a way of moving through environments that made them seem invisible even when exposed. At the end of the shaft, they emerged into a cargo bay filled with stacked shipping containers. Hover carts glided past, moving goods from one section to another. Jax paused, scanning the bay. "They'll expect us to follow a straight path," he said. "We won't. Humans take the unexpected path." Alara followed as he led her along the edge of the bay, using containers to block sight lines and moving in a zigzag pattern that would confuse anyone tracking them. It was slow, careful work, but it kept them invisible. Suddenly, a hover cart turned a corner too quickly, almost colliding with them. Jax caught Alara's arm, guiding her out of the way with practiced ease. "Stay alert," he said. "Every obstacle is an opportunity. Watch, learn, adapt." Alara smiled. Humans had a remarkable ability to turn even mistakes or accidents into advantages. It was a survival skill ingrained over millennia, one that no amount of technology could replace. From the far side of the cargo bay, she could see the aliens moving. They were still searching, but their movements were slower now, more cautious. Jax had disrupted their rhythm. Humans often used observation and patience as weapons, and it was working. Jax signaled her to climb a stack of containers. High ground. Perspective changes everything. Alara followed, balancing carefully as they reached the top. From this vantage point, she could see the entire cargo bay, the movement of the hover carts, and the aliens' attempts to locate them. She realized then that humans had a natural advantage. the ability to take in a situation quickly, assess options, and act decisively. Jax activated a small panel on his wrist, creating subtle light patterns that reflected off the containers. The illusions confused the aliens further, making it appear as if there were multiple humans in different locations. Alara laughed softly. They don't know where to look. No, Jax said, and that's the point. Humans survive because we think differently. We see possibilities that others miss. Every species has rules, but humans, we break them. The aliens hesitated, clearly frustrated. They had never encountered this level of unpredictability before. They relied on tracking, sensors, and assumptions, but humans did not conform. Every step, every decision was a surprise. Alara felt a surge of pride. She was human. She had survived countless challenges, and now she saw the reason. It was not just strength or technology that allowed humans to endure. It was imagination, adaptability, and courage, the combination that made them truly formidable. Jax glanced at her. Ready to move again, she nodded. Lead the way. They descended carefully from the containers and moved toward an exit leading to the station's upper levels. The aliens were still searching below, unaware of their escape. Humans had a unique ability to blend strategy with improvisation, turning even a chase into an advantage. As they approached a service elevator, Jax held a hand up. Notice the timing. The elevator will take a few seconds to arrive. Watch the traffic patterns. Alara observed, realizing how humans could turn patience into power. They waited until a group of travelers passed, then stepped into the elevator. The doors closed and the hum of the lift carried them upward. From the small window, Alara could see the aliens below, moving through the cargo bay, frustrated and disoriented. She felt a sense of triumph, not just for escaping, but for witnessing the subtle, clever ways humans could survive challenges that seemed impossible. The elevator opened onto a quieter section of the station. They stepped out, blending into a corridor filled with maintenance workers and automated drones. Jack smiled. See, humans improvise, adapt, and endure. We turn the environment itself into a tool. It's not about confrontation, it's about strategy. Alara nodded, feeling a deep respect for this way of thinking. She had relied on courage and skill before, but now she saw the power of human creativity in a new light. The chase had not been dangerous in the traditional sense. It had been a lesson. As they moved through the station, Alara realized that survival in the galaxy was not about matching strength with strength. It was about seeing opportunity where others saw only obstacles, turning the ordinary into extraordinary, and embracing the unpredictability that made humans unique. Finally, they reached a quiet observation deck overlooking the docking bays. Ships of every size and shape floated against the backdrop of distant stars. The aliens had disappeared from view, at least for now. Jax leaned against the railing. Humans don't just survive, he said. We adapt, we improvise, we thrive where others would fail. And when we face challenges, we don't just escape, we learn, and we grow stronger. Alara looked out at the stars. She understood now why humanity had endured in a galaxy full of far stronger and more advanced species. It wasn't weapons, strength, or technology alone. It was ingenuity, courage, and the ability to turn the unexpected into an advantage. She smiled at Jax. Thank you. I think I understand now. He tipped his hat. Good, because the real adventure is just beginning. As they prepared to leave the observation deck, Alara felt a renewed confidence. The aliens had tried to claim her, but humans had survived, and not just survived but outsmarted them. She realized that with allies like Jax and the natural strengths of her species, no challenge in the galaxy could ever truly overwhelm her. The hum of Vega Station pulsed like the heartbeat of a living organism. High above the docking bays, Alara Miles and Jax Orion observed the alien patrols sweeping the lower corridors. The metallic-skinned aliens had not given up. They were clever, relentless, and patient, qualities that made them dangerous. But humans, Alara thought, had their own tools: ingenuity, unpredictability, and endurance. Jax leaned against the railing, watching the alien patrols carefully. "They're testing us," he said, "not just physically but mentally. They want to see how far they can push you before you break." Alara frowned. "And what do? We can't just wait forever." "Exactly," Jax replied. "We make our own rules. Humans aren't meant to be predictable. That's our edge." They descended quietly to a maintenance level that overlooked several corridors. Crates, pipes, and equipment were scattered across the floor, creating a natural maze. Jax's eyes glimmered with purpose. "This is where we stand our ground, not by fighting, but by outsmarting." Alara nodded, intrigued. She had survived countless missions relying on courage and quick thinking, but now she saw the depth of human strategy. Every environment was a tool, every obstacle an advantage. Jax pulled out a small device and tapped it against a wall panel. Immediately, the crates began to shift slightly, almost imperceptibly. He activated a series of holographic projectors, sending thin beams of light across the corridors. Each beam created shadows, reflections, and illusions that distorted the space. "They'll think the corridors are longer, wider, or even twisted," Jax explained. "Humans survive by making the impossible seem real." Alara studied the setup. The aliens relied heavily on sensors and perception. They expected to track humans like any other prey, but Jax had turned the station itself into a living puzzle. Every step the aliens took could be misled by light, shadow, and perception. "Impressive," Alara said quietly. "You really can turn an ordinary corridor into a defense without firing a single shot." Jax smiled faintly. "Humans fight differently. Strength isn't always in weapons. It's in thinking, timing, and adaptation. Watch." From a hidden control panel, Jax sent a subtle pulse through the maintenance bay's automated machinery. Hover carts and conveyor belts began to move in seemingly random patterns. Crates shifted as though alive. Soft mechanical sounds echoed unpredictably. To anyone unfamiliar with the layout, it would seem like the entire space had become chaotic, impossible to navigate. Alara could see the aliens entering from two different corridors below. At first, they moved confidently, scanning every shadow, every reflection. But the further they went, the more uncertain they became. The corridors seemed to stretch, twist, and multiply. Every movement triggered new illusions, causing hesitation. "They're confused," Alara whispered. "They don't know which way to go." "Exactly," Jax replied. "Humans use hesitation as a tool. When others doubt themselves, humans gain the advantage." Alara realized the truth in his words. Survival wasn't about speed or strength, it was about adaptability. Humans had endured for centuries not by dominating, but by understanding their surroundings and turning obstacles into tools. The aliens paused, their metallic eyes flickering as sensors scanned the distorted corridors. One hissed in frustration, a sound that echoed unnaturally in the maze-like space. "They expect us to follow the rules," Jax said, "but we make our own. Every step we take is part of the plan. Every choice we make shows them that humans cannot be easily cornered." Alara nodded, understanding the depth of the lesson. In a universe filled with powerful and advanced species, humans survived because they could innovate, adapt, and use the unexpected. Even when faced with a superior opponent, they had an advantage that technology alone could not counter: imagination. As the aliens advanced cautiously, Jax gestured toward a series of containers stacked in the corner. "High ground," he whispered. "Perspective changes everything." They climbed to the top, balancing carefully. From this vantage point, they could see the entire maintenance level, including multiple corridors and exit points. Jax activated a small panel on his wrist, creating moving lights that reflected across the crates and walls. The beams produced shifting patterns, making it appear as if multiple humans were in different locations simultaneously. Alara's heart raced. The aliens were now truly disoriented. They hesitated, scanning corridors repeatedly, unable to locate the real humans. Every reflection, shadow, and sound became a tool in their defense. "You see," Jack said softly, "humans aren't just survivors. We create possibilities. We make the environment itself a weapon without ever hurting anyone." Alara smiled. She had faced threats before, but never like this. The aliens were strong, intelligent, and relentless, but humans were clever, adaptable, and unafraid to think differently. That was enough. Minutes passed, and the aliens began to retreat, frustrated by the unpredictable environment. They didn't understand the maze, the reflections, or the subtle movements that constantly misled them. They were powerful, but they were not creative enough to counter human ingenuity. "Almost there," Jax whispered. "We keep moving until they give up completely." Alara followed as he guided her through a narrow path between crates. Every movement was deliberate. Humans had a natural ability to navigate uncertainty, to adapt instantly to changes, and to find advantages where others saw none. She realized that this was not just about survival. It was about showing that humans could thrive even in situations designed to trap them. From their vantage point, they could see the aliens attempting to regroup. But the maze Jax had created was more than just physical, it was psychological. Every sensor, shadow, and reflection made the aliens doubt themselves. They were forced to make decisions cautiously, slowing them down, giving humans the upper hand. Alara whispered, "It's like the station itself is on our side." Jax grinned. "Humans don't wait for luck, we create it. Every environment has tools if you know how to see them. Every obstacle is an opportunity." They moved silently toward an exit that led to the station's upper levels. As they advanced, Alara felt a surge of confidence. The aliens were not just being outsmarted, they were learning that humans could not be cornered, predicted, or intimidated. "Almost there," Jax said. "One more step and we leave them behind." Alara followed, moving carefully across a narrow walkway that overlooked the lower docking bays. Below, the aliens were still searching, their movements hesitant and uncertain. Humans had turned the chase into a demonstration of skill, creativity, and endurance. Finally, they reached a quiet observation platform overlooking the station. Ships floated silently against the backdrop of distant stars, and the aliens had disappeared from view. Alara breathed deeply, feeling relief, pride, and a newfound respect for human adaptability. Jax leaned against the railing, tipping his hat. "Humans survive because we adapt, we improvise, and we think differently. We don't just escape, we grow stronger every time we face a challenge." Alara smiled. "I see that now. It's not about fighting or running, it's about thinking, planning, and using everything around you." "Exactly," Jax said, "and you've already proven it today. The aliens learned one important lesson. Humans are not to be underestimated." Alara looked out at the stars. She understood now why humanity had endured in a galaxy filled with stronger and more advanced species. Humans survived because they could create opportunities, adapt instantly, and remain unpredictable. That combination made them truly formidable. Jax glanced at her. "And this is just the beginning. Every challenge we face will teach you more. Every obstacle is a chance to outthink, outmaneuver, and thrive. That's what it means to be human." Alara felt a sense of calm determination. She had faced threats before, but now she understood the full extent of human strength. It wasn't just courage or skill. It was creativity, adaptability, and the ability to turn the unexpected into an advantage. As they prepared to leave the observation platform, she glanced at Jax. "I think I'm ready for whatever comes next." Jax smiled. "Good, because the galaxy has a way of testing humans, and we always rise to the challenge." Alara felt a renewed sense of confidence. The aliens had tried to claim her, but humans had outsmarted them. And with allies like Jax, she knew they could face anything the galaxy might throw at them. For now, the station was quiet, but Alara understood that the real test was not just survival. It was proving that humans could thrive, adapt, and succeed against any challenge, no matter how advanced or intimidating. As they moved toward the transport that would take them to the station's upper levels, Alara felt the truth in Jax's words. Humans did not just survive, they endured, adapted, and outsmarted. And in that moment, she knew that she, too, embodied that strength. The aliens had underestimated her, as they underestimated all humans. And that, she realized, was humanity's greatest advantage. Unpredictability, ingenuity, and the courage to thrive in a universe that expected them to fail. The upper levels of Vega Station glimmered with the reflection of countless lights from ships, docking bays, and the stars. Beyond, Alara Miles and Jax Orion walked along the observation corridor, their steps quiet against the polished metal floor. The station felt vast, almost alive, with ships gliding silently and travelers from 100 worlds moving purposefully in every direction. Yet despite the beauty and the bustling activity, Alara remained aware of the threat that had pursued her. "They'll be back," she said, her voice calm but firm. "They always come back when they don't get what they want." Jax nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon as though reading the intentions of distant travelers. "Yes, but humans survive, and more importantly, we learn. Every encounter makes us stronger, smarter, and more unpredictable. That's what keeps us alive where others fail." Alara looked at him, realizing the truth in his words. The aliens had been clever, relentless, and technologically superior in many ways, but they had underestimated humans. They had counted on fear, patterns, and predictability. Instead, they had encountered adaptability, creativity, and courage. "Do you think they'll understand that?" she asked. Jax tipped his hat, a small smile crossing his face. "Some do eventually, but most don't, and that's fine. Humans don't need them to understand. We just need to survive and keep moving forward." Alara nodded. Survival had always been more than just avoiding danger. It had been about intelligence, quick thinking, and the willingness to turn obstacles into tools. Watching Jax in action had taught her more about human ingenuity than any mission she had ever undertaken. They reached a docking bay reserved for private freighters. The Starfarer waited silently, its sleek frame gleaming under the station lights. Alara's cargo was secure, and the engines hummed faintly, ready for departure. But she lingered, her gaze shifting between the endless sea of lights and the distant stars beyond the station. "Do you ever wonder why humans keep going?" she asked softly, almost to herself. Jax looked at her thoughtful. "We endure because we have to. We adapt because survival demands it. But mostly, we thrive because we imagine. We see possibility where others see limits. That's why humans make it in a galaxy full of beings stronger, faster, or smarter. We make our own rules." Alara smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She had always believed in human resilience, but now she understood it on a deeper level. Survival wasn't just about courage. It was about strategy, creativity, and the ability to remain unpredictable. As they prepared to board the Starfarer, the station's announcement system echoed softly. "All travelers, please be advised. Security reports indicate unusual activity in corridors 12 through 18. No immediate danger reported." Alara raised an eyebrow. "They're still looking, aren't they?" Jax chuckled. "Of course, but that's the beauty of it. They search for us, but humans are already steps ahead. Every move we make teaches them that predictability is a mistake. We survive because we think differently." She boarded the freighter, feeling the familiar hum of the engines beneath her feet. The cockpit lights glowed softly, and the controls felt reassuringly familiar. She looked back at Jax, who stepped onto the boarding ramp with his usual calm demeanor. "Ready for departure?" he asked. Alara nodded. "Ready. Let's show them that humans don't just survive, we thrive." The engines of the Starfarer roared to life and the ship lifted smoothly from the docking bay. Through the observation window, Vega Station receded, a brilliant mosaic of lights and motion. The aliens below were still searching, but humans had already moved beyond their reach. Alara felt a sense of triumph, not from defeating them, but from outsmarting them. "Every challenge we face teaches us something," Jax said, watching the stars streak past as the ship accelerated. "Every obstacle shows us the advantage of thinking, adapting, and staying unpredictable. That's why humans endure." Alara leaned back in her seat, reflecting on the journey. The chase, the illusions, the clever maneuvers, all of it demonstrated a truth she had always known but now felt deeply. Humans were capable of extraordinary feats because of their creativity, resilience, and courage. Strength alone was not enough. It was intelligence, adaptability, and ingenuity that set them apart. As they entered hyperspace, the stars stretched into brilliant streaks of light. The galaxy seemed endless, full of opportunities, dangers, and unknown wonders. Yet Alara felt confident, knowing that humans had a way of meeting the impossible head-on and turning it into an advantage. "Do you think they'll try again?" she asked quietly. "Possibly," Jax said, "but humans have a way of teaching lessons without fighting. They'll learn eventually, and even if they don't, it doesn't matter. Humans survive, and more importantly, we thrive. That's enough." Alara smiled, thinking about the lessons she had learned. Strength, ingenuity, patience, and unpredictability. These were the true powers of humanity. The galaxy might underestimate humans, but they had endured where others had failed. And now, she felt ready for anything. The journey ahead was uncertain, full of challenges, but Alara felt prepared. Every encounter, every obstacle had strengthened her understanding of what it meant to be human. It was not just survival, it was adaptation, creativity, and courage in the face of the unknown. Jax leaned back in his seat, watching her with a faint grin. "The galaxy has a way of testing us," he said, "but humans always find a way to rise. We endure, we adapt, we thrive, and we make the impossible possible." Alara looked at him, feeling a deep sense of camaraderie. "I understand now. Humans are not just survivors, we're creators, thinkers, and problem solvers. We turn the impossible into something real." Jax tipped his hat. "Exactly, and this is just the beginning. The galaxy is vast, full of challenges and wonders. But humans will face them all and will leave our mark." As the Starflyer sped through hyperspace, Alara felt a profound sense of pride. She was human. She had faced threats, navigated dangers, and outsmarted beings far stronger and more advanced than herself. And she knew that, no matter what the galaxy held, humanity would endure, adapt, and triumph. The stars stretched into brilliant streaks, the galaxy unfolding in endless possibilities. For Alara, Jax, and all humans, the journey was far from over. But one truth remained clear. Humans were unpredictable, inventive, and resilient. They survived where others failed, thrived where others hesitated, and turned every challenge into an opportunity. And as the Starflyer disappeared into the endless expanse of space, Alara felt certain of one thing: the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. The adventure was complete for now, but the promise of humanity's ingenuity, endurance, and spirit stretched across the stars, waiting for the next challenge. And with courage, intelligence, and unpredictability on their side, humans were ready for whatever the universe could throw at them. Alara leaned back, a smile crossing her face. The galaxy was wide, full of unknowns, but humans had a way of making their mark. They survived. They adapted, they thrived, and they would continue to do so wherever the stars led them. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly at peace. The aliens had been clever, but humans had been cleverer, and that was a truth the galaxy would not soon forget. Jax glanced at her one last time. "Ready for the next chapter?" he asked. Alara nodded, her eyes on the stars ahead. "Always." The freighter glided smoothly into the vastness of space, leaving Vega Station behind, and with it, the proof that humans, unpredictable, ingenious, and resilient, would always endure.